Gethsemane is a garden at the foot of the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, most famous as the place where Jesus prayed and his disciples slept the night before Jesus' crucifixion. Etymology: Gethsemane appears in the Greek of the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Mark as Gamma Epsilon Theta Sigma Eta Mu Alpha Nu Eta. The name is derived from the Aramaic meaning oil press. Matthew and Mark call it Chi Omega Rho Omicron Nu, a place or a state. The Gospel of John says Jesus entered a garden with his disciples. Location: according to the New Testament, it was a place that Jesus and his disciples customarily visited, which allowed Judas to find him on the night of his arrest. There are 4 locations claimed to be the place where Jesus prayed on the night he was betrayed. The Church of All Nations overlooking a garden with the Rock of the Agony. The location near the Tomb of the Virgin to the north. The Greek Orthodox location to the east. The Russian Orthodox orchard next to the Church of Maria Magdalene by an orchard. Dr. William M. Thompson, author of The Land and the Book, first published in 1880, wrote, "When I first came to Jerusalem, and for many years afterward, this plot of ground was open to all whenever they chose to come and meditate beneath its very old olive trees. The Latins, however, have within the last few years succeeded in gaining sole possession, and have built a high wall around it. The Greeks have invented another site a little to the north of it. My own impression is that both are wrong. The position is too near the city, and so close to what must have always been the great thoroughfare eastward, that our Lord would scarcely have selected it for retirement on that dangerous and dismal night. I am inclined to place the garden in the secluded vale several hundred yards to the northeast of the present Gethsemane. All of the foregoing is based on long-held tradition and the conflating of the synoptic accounts of Mark and Matthew with the Johannine account. Mark and Matthew record that Jesus went to a place called the Oil Press, and John states he went to a garden near the Kidron Valley. Modern scholarship acknowledges that the location of Gethsemane is unknown. Pilgrimage site. According to Luke chapter 22 verses 43 to 44, Jesus' anguish on the Mount of Olives was so deep that his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. According to the Eastern Orthodox Church tradition, Gethsemane is the garden where the Virgin Mary was buried and was assumed into heaven after her dormition on Mount Zion. The Garden of Gethsemane became a focal site for early Christian pilgrims. It was visited in 333 by the anonymous Pilgrim of Bordeaux, whose itinerarium Berdeglens is the earliest description left by a Christian traveler in the Holy Land. In his Onomasticon, Eusebius of Caesarea notes the site of Gethsemane located at the foot of the Mount of Olives, and he adds that the faithful were accustomed to go there to pray. 8 ancient olive trees growing in the Latin site of the garden may be 900 years old. Olive trees. A study conducted by the National Research Council of Italy in 2012 found that several olive trees in the garden are amongst the oldest known to science. Dates of 1092, 1166 and 1198 AD were obtained by carbon dating from older parts of the trunks of 3 trees. DNA tests show that the trees were originally planted from the same parent plant. This could indicate an attempt to keep the lineage of an older species intact. Then again, the 3 trees tested could have been sprouts reviving from the older roots. The results of tests on trees in the Garden of Gethsemane have not settled the question of whether the gnarled trees are the very same which sheltered Jesus, because olive trees can grow back from roots after being cut down, researchers said. However, Bernabe writes, all the tree trunks are hollow inside so that the central older wood is missing. In the end, only 3 from a total of 8 olive trees could be successfully dated. The dated ancient olive trees do, however, not allow any hypothesis to be made with regard to the age of the remaining 5 giant olive trees. Babcock said that the roots of the oldest trees are possibly much older, and then points out the traditional claim that the trees are 2,000 years old.